The interior walls need patching, repairing, and new paint along with the trim. And the ceiling in the hallway, foyer, and kitchen, bathrooms all needed painting as well. They were staying in places where they've done previous weeks. In the kitchen, generally, it's in need of renovation, except for the refrigerator. We found that we're looking at all aspects of the kitchen. The furnishings were found to be worn and outdated. They've been here pretty much the whole time the clubhouse existed, with the exception of the 2 4-top tables. So we were looking at that aspect too. In the bathrooms, the ladies' room, the wallpaper is peeling and separating from the wall. There's never been any paint in those bathrooms at all. So we found that both bathrooms needed some painting, although the men's room, the wallpaper is intact and in great shape. So we're pleased to find that it wouldn't need to be treated at all.
Yeah.
There is a recurrent issue, especially in the ladies' room, with the clogging toilet. So they need to be updated with more efficient modern toilet, and the sink and vanity. We wanted to replace the sink with vanities, which would allow for some storage underneath for some of the cleaning supplies, paper goods primarily. After several months of researching, reaching out to vendors, getting quotes and samples, we readied a proposal for the board with our phase 1 plan, which addressed flooring, painting, bathrooms, ceiling fans and lighting, and furniture needs. We were careful to obtain at least 3 quotes for the major work. The total expense for this phase amounted to just over $30,000, with the flooring requiring half of this amount at $15,558.33. The board did approve our plan. Starting Monday, June 20th, the flooring will be installed. The painter will begin on Wednesday or Thursday, and the wallpaper replacement will start the following Monday. The bathrooms will be updated with new toilets and vanities. The floor installer will install our new toilet floor as part of the quote to set the old toilet back in place. So they can set the new toilet in at no extra charge. New ceiling fans and can lights will be installed Wednesday or Thursday this week. They'll work around the flooring and painting, so shouldn't be a big deal. This phase with approval of 2 love seats for the main room and fabric to recover the 2 rattan chairs and ottomans, which are located now out on the patio, but once they're recovered, we'll bring them in and add them to 2 love seats. That we felt would give us more flexibility with seating for events and occasions. We're going to add 2 cushions to the fireplace, which will allow more seating when we're having events. Unfortunately, the love seat, can take up to 6 months to get, because that's the way the furniture market is right now. Hopefully, they'll come sooner, but so that's a way off before that gets installed. The committee is continuing to work on the kitchen update and furnishing. We're also looking at the patio and deck furniture and accessories for this room. Of major concern is the lack of storage. Along with the structures and grounds committee, we are working on plans to enclose the overhang porch areas adjacent to the kitchen and servants. That was on both sides, like we did when we expanded the library and the weight room, pushed out the walls to the overhang, which will give us quite a good deal of storage space for which the community has been in dire need of for years. And at the same time, help us to modernize the kitchen and make it more functional for events and gatherings by the members in the community. While we have met with contractors about this, we have yet to receive any quotes. As you know, with the market the way it's been, they're far too busy to want to deal with a smaller project at the time. However, we're confident that soon we will be able to get quotes from at least 3, maybe 4 contractors for that project and go from there. Our committee is going to continue to work until we get done. There is one thing I would like to ask, and that is, in preparation for the floor installation, we are required to empty the shelves in the library of the books. The shelves themselves can stay there, but the books need to be removed. And so the plan is Jenny's going to have a work party on Saturday at 10 to remove the books. They'll use wagons or carts. If you have the time and are inclined to do so, we'd love to have the help to move the books. We're going to move them out to the sunroom where they'll stay until the project is finished in a week or so. So if you are available and would like to come and help Saturday at 10 o'clock, we'd love that. At this time, I'll answer questions if I can, if you have it.
Well, I have one question as far as, I know we have talked in the past of the community.
Speak really loud, please.
Okay,
Thank you.
we've talked in the past, community growing, about more and more people. And we've talked about, or it's been discussed about the clubhouse isn't big enough. So has there been a thought as far as community to expand? We're spending this amount of money for this. Is that going to work as far as what we may plan to do in the future? Has that been thought about?
Yeah, his question, for those at home that may not have been able to hear him is, did we consider the possibility of an entire club expansion in the future because the club is inadequate as the community grows and we have more and more members living here? We did discuss and consider this, and the feeling is that at this time and for an unknown period of time, we cannot do a new clubhouse or expand this building very much. There has to be a plan for that. There has to be funds generated to pay for that. And so in the meanwhile, this is the best way that we can ensure that the clubhouse continues to meet our needs as we have functioned. And we'll continue to work, and hopefully at one point we'll be able to have a new clubhouse, and this clubhouse may serve other functions or be incorporated into a larger. That's something that's not even developed at this point. So this is something we need to do. It has most of the furniture and the fixtures and even the paint in here has hardly been done in over 20 years.
Questions.
So
It's
kind of kept pushing it back and not doing it, and it's really fine. Yes, Chris.
Has outdoor space, grilling areas, outdoor, just event space. Has that been the topic of discussion?
Let's see, do it under.
And his question is
Oh, okay.
the development of more outdoor space or function than discussed. And quite frankly, not by this committee. It's not what we were charged to do. However, I can tell you that the social committee has considered this and is beginning to utilize more and more outdoor space. This committee was not asked or tasked to do that, except for the patio deck, which we will look at as we go forward. That's a good suggestion. Thank you. Yes.
Could you state your name for the folks at home too who are listening in, if you don't mind? Yeah, not to me, but. What's the estimated cost of the second part of the project? That also comes from the kitchen and the addition.
Yeah, it will come from, for reserve, and we don't know yet because we haven't got any quotes or estimates. So, I can't tell you at this point. We will seek competitive bids generally, and what we're thinking of doing is the contracting for the that it isn't a great big deal, what we're talking about. It isn't a lot, I mean, you stop and think about it, it's not plumbing, not a lot of electrical. There's, it's primarily, constructing some walls and moving, the existing walls out and perhaps removing, portion of this wall here to expand the kitchen into this room, which would make it more useful. So I really can't tell you what that might be at this point, but it would be a reserve consideration yet. Joanne, Shivani?
Were you given a dollar amount to work with?
Joanne's question was, were we given a dollar amount to work with? We were told to, meet with the, FPC committee, which we did. And he outlined, Dave, we met with Dave Shirrell, chairman of that committee, and he outlined what our, amounts could be. I mean, we weren't given a dollar amount, but we were told what was in the, reserve fund line item for these things now. And actually, the reserve study, if you look at the 2018 reserve study, the line item for the kinds of things that we're doing amounts to $34,500. So we're within that with what we've done so far. And we kept that. So no, we're not given a dollar amount, but we were told this is what your limitations are. Any other questions?
Can you tell Brian again, what was it a little, like, what kind of forward we getting, what we having?
Okay, yes, I can. I don't have a story to show you because it doesn't show well, pictures of things. But what we tried to do was, keep the, theme coastal, calm. So the paint selection was sea salt with alabaster trim, which is almost white. And that will be throughout the building. It will be uniform. The flooring is called saffron. I do have a sample of the vinyl plank flooring here. I have to say that. It's similar to this color, but a little bit more. This is going to be exactly this color. We looked at the ceiling, we went out and we didn't want something that wouldn't work well with that. So I think you'll find that the color scheme will be pleasing, calming, coastal. The flooring will be warm, and I'll tell you what, about some experts on the committee as far as the decorating goes, not me. I'm a practical one. They're the ones that have the but they selected fabrics that are, I wouldn't call it beachy, but along the same coastal theme. So, does that answer the question? Anything else? Well, thank you very much. Our committee has had a great time, and we'll keep working for you.
I'm on the Structures and Grounds Committee along with John Champlin, who is currently in Florida, who will be back for the 17th. And Tom Cotton, on the committee of 4. There are 2 items that we've been working on. One of them is to repair the drainage problem we have at the water park. Drain pipe between Windy Point Road and down by the gate, clogged. So that has to be in place. The replacement cost of that is about $19,600. We have contract for that. They have to dig a trench 95 feet long, 4 feet wide, and 3 feet deep, and pull out the old pipe, put a new pipe in, and then put in infiltration dam on top of that. We can't put in pipe that normally would be concrete or wood block. The reason is that because of our stormwater permits, will not be allowed by the state. What they want to do is to put, what we're going to do is to put the same type of pipe that's in there, hopefully last as long as we can, because that's the only material that's available at the time. A problem with that, of course, is that it might clog again. But that's all we can do at this time. So that's the first project. Any questions? We'll go on project. How about any questions on the drainage?
I've got a question.
Yes.
What kind of material are you talking about to put in there?
Corrugated pipe.
Corrugated pipe, yes, that's from the point road there, do they have to give you an option of finding place?
No, they tried.
Dick, can you repeat the question loudly? Because people at home cannot hear us.
What type of material is being used, the type of pipe,
Yes, sir.
fiberglass? They tried looking to see what they could do, they put a jammer in it, and the roots are coming through it. They have to replace the pipe. Unfortunately, again, because the pipe has to drain between the two storm drains, then some of the water has to go out. The state does not want any of that water going in.
Y'all using local contractors or?
Company out of Wilmington, Rainstorm Solutions, going to be doing it.
If you have any questions or whatnot for me, I know the infrastructure, international paper and sewage is one of my things, and I deal with replacing sewer piping quite often. And I didn't know if you don't have a list of contractors, it seems kind of expensive to 19 grand to charge that little bit of piping before you guys. If I could help out with it.
All right. I'll get your name out.
Yes, sir.
All right. Any other questions?
Will that project run concurrent with the repair on the ramp?
No, well, actually, they're going to try to do it at the same time so that the water park is closed at the same time that the pipe's being replaced. So you don't have to close it twice. Any other questions? Yes.
So the issue with the clogging is just from the roots and stuff, not from the breeding stuff.
Well, there are also leaves in there, but the
Yeah,
problem is, right, the problem is because the roots are in there, they can't clear it out, and because it's corrugated,
Okay.
the plastic, they can't remove it.
So, yeah.
It's gotta be replaced. The other project we're looking at is replacing the walkway and the decking area at the water park. That one's been a real challenge because, like Colin stated, contractors are busy. We can't find anybody that is willing to come in and do a small project who also has the proper insurance and, which is, liability insurance and workers' compensation. We found some contractors
Not
who
very
have.
Should be audience.
Don't have workers' compensation. We've been told we can't do the job without their.
No, you can't.
That again,
It'll zoom in.
we're working on it. So that'll be the walkway and the platform leading to the depot.
If you want
The
to do
initial
that.
quote we
Okay.
received back 2 years ago was for, pressure treated wood. The board has since decided that they do not want to use pressure treated wood. They want to use a composite, like the material that's down on the walkway to the Dagon. They no longer make it, so they're looking for something else, but again, the composite.
Where'd it go? Yes.
All right, this paper has been set up in the motion doc. Help on the committee with me is very August and Matthew. military transport, over 150 years of construction, management, contracting, and, even got marine, permitting experience. So, pretty well experienced in that kind of complicated community. And hopefully we can get it done, more, and look like we want. So we'll talk first. If I have some quiet.
Give me about 2 minutes, so sing a song or something.
Let's see, that's going to, this.
Up there.
Yeah, I know, I gotta get it over there first.
Sitting there baking. Anything that you done with that?
Well, we like to stick to the topics that we scheduled.
When we want to get the votes in the bar, we don't care about talking to shit.
We have to discuss that issue, but we've never seen it too now. This is before this.
Hurry,
Not yet. Give me 1 more minute. Share screen. Share screen. Share. Okay, now everybody at home can see that as well. Sorry about that.
Okay.
All right, so I think everybody in the community knows that we've got one of the premier, bulk launching facilities along the impulse, especially for a large community. The grant was put in 2010. So,
Minimize this little tiny thing.
normal marine life or grant like this in that 15 to 20 year range.
Complaints.
So we're kind of at the end of that lifespan. We had a marine engineer in November of 2019 come in and do a structural inspection of the entire ramp. At that time, we noticed some deterioration as would be expected over that time frame. You know, I'm sure you're all aware in the marine environment, you've got a lot of decay, chance for marine worms and other things that cause the wood to deteriorate. Got a few pictures here.
Yeah. You need to send me the next picture.
All right, so, the original timber brought in from South America, the thought at the time was that it was an exotic hardwood and it would be immune to the marine worms, therefore would last longer than treated wood. However, we found out that that wasn't the case. And the worms ate this wood just as easily as treated. So in 2012, we put in these time-free sleeves, jackets around most of the timber that's in contact with water. And you can see right here, those sleeves have started to deteriorate too. Next slide. Here, these are 12-inch timbers. You can see the screwdriver sticking in the wood there. So there is some deterioration by, one of the things that you can't see all the way through you do tests like this. So we know there is some superficial deterioration, but the center is pretty good. Next slide.
Mhm.
Same kind of thing there. Next slide. Here, you can see some vertical cracking within the timbers. And you can just see, you can see how
Says your internet connection's unstable.
going back and forth. And that, it's just a playground for stuff that chew on board. We also, next slide, the contractor who was the developer, this contractor who was ramped in. They've got aluminum decks and steel here, and from a erosion or corrosion standpoint, that just doesn't work. So there is some accelerated corrosion going on because of the mixing of materials. Normal marine contractor would. So after the engineer did his survey, he helped with the boats and docks put together a plan to replace the ramp as the most practical approach. And we broke that down into two parts. The lower part with concrete is on top of the ramp, and the upper portion, which is not in the water as much, and is all timbers. So that was summer of 2020. We've got approval on a major permit to do the renovations, replacement by DQ and the Corps of Engineers. The additional work was done as far as the soil borings to see how deep we had to put the pilings where they were structurally sound. And just like you heard from everybody else, we had a terrible time with contract. We did that in 2021. We kind of fall in a zone where we're too big for the contractors to put in residential docks, and too small for the big guys who want to put in, a big harbor, a big pier for a municipal facility or something. So we got one bid at 2.8 million. That bid wasn't accepted, and we put the project on hold. Then in December, we met again with the board liaison and the engineer, and came up with a plan for an engine repair, so that we could work towards the complete replacement. So here's the engineering drawing of what we plan to do. It's a little washed out, unfortunately, but we're going to put in pilings along the outside edge, on the concrete portion only, on the outside two edges, and then we're going to run timber beams underneath the ramp. And that'll give us the stability that we need moving forward. If you look at the next slide, it's a overhead view. So you're looking down on the concrete portion of the ramp, and here's these timbers will be slid underneath. This is a pretty standard construction technique that's used a lot in bridges, and also used for ramps like this. Next slide. So from January on to present day, we've been working on getting that approach in place. I think you all remember in February, we had a survey that was sent out by the DOD. The majority of people were in favor of doing this ramp repair versus trying to do a complete replacement at this time. The first bid we got was for $350,000, which seemed a little high to the committee. So we tried to get a couple more bids. Couple bids came in pretty low in our minds and, didn't quite live up to what we were expecting. One guy put in a bid without even looking at the second. How do you do that? One kind of has some limited experience, and the other one would only get us a 90-day guarantee. So, with switching from a replacement to a repair, we went back to the state, back and forth engineers to get our permit modified. So, we've been working on that. And I think everybody's aware in May, after the board discussed the condition of the ramp with the engineer, the attorney, and the insurance company, we decided for liability purposes to move forward. So we're trying to accelerate our work as far as getting it back home, which leads us to the activities that continue from May. So we got a bid from a kind of mid-sized firm, Palmetto Marine Construction, for $175,000. Everybody was happy with their experience. They came in, had a plan, you could tell they knew what they were doing. The only problem there is they're bidding. So, and we can't get materials. So we've got approval on our design permit from the DEQ, and it's still pending from the court. The court generally, the DEQ approves it for. So we're just waiting for that process through them. Brunswick County decided, since we were a commercial ramp, they wanted a construction. Even though the jurisdiction is with the DEQ. But, so that's, then it should be only, $300 or $400. But it's just another step. The main holdup right now is the timbers are on back order, and the last estimate was that they would be available until the end of July. Contractors tell us, once he gets the materials, he's got about a 3-week time. So, fingers crossed, that everything will be done by the end of August. Next slide. So moving forward, we're going to continue to work with the engineer and the board to investigate options for total replacement. It's going to have to be done at some point in the future. At that $2.8 million price tag, we're looking at other alternatives, but it may come down to that. It's a big item. It's a costly item. We'll do our best to see how we can reduce the cost. And we're working with the facility planning committee as far as reserve funds and getting the funding in place to move forward. Anybody got questions?
Oh my gosh. 17 hands on the.
This, temporary.
Bruce, can you repeat the question so people can hear?
Okay. The question was, how long will the temporary repair last? And best estimate is about 5 years. Once the contractor gets in there, puts everything in place, sees what the actual condition of things are underneath the ramp, how sturdy they are once it gets done, all the better. That's the estimate.
I get that. The 175K, I think it's fun.
Who's that?
It's a reserve item. Okay, so they have it. So no, it isn't funding required. That will, multi-jackers. All right.
Yeah, Bruce, you mentioned
Share, unshare.
underneath there, the contractor that originally built that, put the similar metal together, aluminum
deal.
Are you gonna, I mean, is the contractor gonna change that, or are they gonna put sacrificial zincs on there like you find on an outboard motor, or what? I mean, how do you resolve that situation?
Well, at this point, you really can't. You know, by putting the timbers in there, we're just providing additional support.
Same, I know plates are devil, you bolt it up through the move.
Marine engineer goes.
I'll be happy to talk to you about it. They were also have been in business for almost 25 years.
Share that screen.
You go ahead.
You mean with the people?
So my question is,
People asking you
questions. That's.
Oh.
You want to get that to here.
The concrete.
Yes.
Right,
Right.
so we're not gonna do anything, we're not gonna do anything to the wood portion of. Right,
Less looks comfortable.
that's it.
Yes, I mean, it's in much better shape than the portion that where I was showing the picture of, which are underneath the concrete.
So the attorney, the engineer, the insurance company is gonna find us, and I'm gonna shut it down again before we get into with the wood portion. We don't know.
We don't know. I mean, with all of this, the marine engineer is going to continue to monitor the condition of the ramp. You know, like I said, that portion is in better shape. You know, everybody thinks that'll last at least, you know, a 5-year duration more. But it's not gonna last forever. The entire ramp doesn't. Joanne?
Hopefully, the question will you guarantee that the ramp won't fall, won't be out, because they have to. But they're not going to guarantee it then.
There is a guarantee of the work done by a contractor.
Like a year.
A year.
Like a year. No question, Greg. Also, I think that they're gonna sink. Are there other options instead of wood that could give more longevity to that whole structure?
No, not really. You know, the treated wood is the industry standard. You know, you can wrap the treated wood. The plastic-like material.
So you're saying that's an option?
That would be an option.
And how
It's like
much
I'm longer.
longevity would you get?
That I don't know.
That's something that should be explored further.
Well, I can ask the engineer about it. It was not part of his initial recommendation.
Why was it shut down right at the start of the season and not, the rest of the off season? Was it decided that it just became so dangerous that it couldn't be used over the next couple of months, even by, say, smaller boats? I mean, it's not that weird.
It's the initial survey was done in 19, and we've been monitoring the condition of the ramp. And just because of the time frame, was more concerned. Questions
You can
asked
right
of the
click on
attorney,
it. We'll give you the option to
questions
share.
asked of the engineer to guarantee it. And in the marine environment, he doesn't have accurate eyes, he can't look through the entire column, pilings to see how structurally sound they are all the way through. It just came to a point where, from a liability standpoint, we thought we had to shut it down before something happened. The fact that it's in the middle of boating season, obviously is not a good thing, but this, the way things lined up, that's what.
So what does that mean about reserves? And are we required keep a minimum amount of reserves in our budget. And what are we doing now to plan for the future? Are we gonna be having some incremental increases? Because eventually it sounds like in 2 years, we're gonna have about $2 million, $2.5 million.
We're gonna let Dan.
Thank you, Joe. I'm the treasurer of the Long Board. We've got about $1.1 million now in the reserve. And from the amount, if everything were to be, had to be replaced that was in the reserve right now, we have 50% of the funds available now to replace everything in reserve. Right? So we're underfunded in the reserve. We have $1.1 million. We are we did a 10% increase in the line item for the reserve in 2022. We felt like we needed to. Normally we would have done 10%, but we did because we know what's coming due. We know what's coming up with the facility where they are right now. 2023 budget's going to be coming up. We're going to be doing another increase in the reserve, maybe a 10% increase there too. We're never going to catch up to what we're going to be owing for that bad program. We're going to have to go out and be creative about the funding to get the program not repaired or replaced. We have a window, 5-year window or so, maybe hopefully more, to work all this out. I don't know what else I can tell you right now. We do have the funds for the boat ramp. We got $175,000 in the boat in the reserve for the boat ramp replacement. So we're okay there. But we're going to continue to keep funding the reserve, because of issues like this. And we have other long-term issues that will be coming up also in the next 10, 15 years. Big time stuff.
Like roads?
Like roads. Yes. And that's already baked into the equation on a reserve. With that, when it's time to do the roads, the reserve will be funded properly enough to pay for our road repair completely. Now you got cost of asphalt going up. I mean, you got right now we're okay with all this nonsense that's going on right now. Who knows why it's going to be in 12, 15 years we'll have to do the work, the road replacement. But right now we're okay. Projected for the road replacement. I don't know how we got there. I mean, but anyway, so it's a task to get it all done. What we need to get done, and we're going to for 8 to 10 years we had no increase in dues at Oyster Harbour. None. Okay, it was great for 8 to 10 years. Now we're going to have to play catch up. That's just the fact.
Again, I'd like to piggyback on that. We do have a strong reserve. We will continue to have a strong reserve. We have smart people on FHC that will continue to advise us on how we should approach our reserve funding. And what you need to remember also is we are one of the stronger communities in this area with reserve funding. As I said, compared to other communities just like us. So we will continue to have a strong reserve.
We have zero liability. We don't owe anyone any money at all. And very few developments will ever say that we're not paying checks to BB&T or Bank of America. We don't owe a nickel to anyone. So that's the positive part of what we have here over the park.
I've got 2 questions that came in, not through audio, but through the message window. one, from Peggy, no last name. Any consideration for using fiberglass pilings?
Well, and I can answer that plus your question. You know, for this repair, you know, we're only looking at 5 years, 10 years most. So it's not a long-term thing. So your question both would be something that we should be looking at for the replacement. What items can we use in replacement to last longer than the 20 years we got out of the pilings that we're currently using? You know, the concern with the repair is going to be more the condition of the ramp itself and the underlying structure of the ramp, not the pilings. From the repair standpoint.
Chris, I was just gonna add on, with this initial replacement, the 2.8 million dollars concrete out there, it was supposed to be almost a lifetime or a many-year, multi-year successful ramp here. Big thing, a lot of money. So now working, this is an inner repair, it's all right in that, but we're continuing to work with engineers to figure what engineering techniques out there that are going to give us many years in the future. If probably is not gonna contain a $300,000 copper dam, total concrete, but what is it will work to give us 20 or 30 plus years, maybe more at some point. We're having a conversation with the engineer all the time. What's the new technology? What are new techniques? So this is not static. We're just buying time so that we can work all the time, figure out what's going to work better. And be good stewards of everybody's money.
And respond about the PVC technology for pilings has only been around for about 10 or 12 years. I know there's some studies that have happened, and they're seeing tremendous results. You see the PVC wraps on the pilings, you look at mine. I haven't, and I have no idea that they were even available. But they're, in the whole scope of the work, we can look at them because they're not a huge expense, and they're a double position that rationally was in place. That can give you a short-term answer. The long-term answer is there's not enough information out there to know it's going to take 10, 20 years. I know right now the answer is 10 to 12 to be able to just get it because it actually stops the worm. And that's the only reason they're working. Barnacle is still going to be on the outside of it, but the worm infection will stop from doing that. Fiberglass question, I will tell you just from the construction practice, it's not practical. You can't get the load on fiberglass piling straight from a boat. It's resistant. Everything is there, but you just couldn't put enough internal load to hold what's out there in fiberglass piling. That's the reason you can see another option of wood is concrete.
These are all engineering questions. I mean, this is not that. Engineer probably for a week or two or something like that. So this is his whole world. We work from Jackson, North Carolina, to Charleston, South Carolina.
And it would certainly have to go back to our engineers. And I'll tell you, well, it's just a good for
Exactly.
the three's all.
Just here.
Confidence all 42 way
This just gets us same.
There we go. He had his hand in a second. Robert Wilson had his hand in a second.
Okay.
I would love.
People at home cannot hear any of this, so you really need to come up to the microphone and
No. Our ramp is permitted, that alignment. And because it's already permitted and approved, it's aligned with that.
But that was just the gentleman lives on the other side. He owns lots and then everything is further. Now it was some just off the house and then. You're living on.
I'll get back to you. We didn't move the students, just like that. You're asking me, am I good with it? The state, the court said we did, he said we did. And it's straight now, and it's way down.
I have a question that came in, from Zoom. Has the committee considered salt-treated pilings? On my dock, after 20 years, there is no wear. That's Robert Wilson.
Yeah. Last question, $175,000 temporary repair. I don't sit there and evaluate the concrete method of the concrete. I mean, in this report we referred to, only show that wood products or wood materials. I mean, is there any surface crack in falling concrete, stone rebar, where we even need to spend $175,000 for concrete? I don't go down there and inspect it, I've seen no issue with concrete, everything in the report was back in 2020, when the report came out, I asked the other stop and share it with me. I studied over it, and stuff, the other, everything I seen the issues were with the pilings or the wood. I mean, some surface cracks, falling concrete. I mean, what's wrong with the concrete? Appears to be nothing. Yeah. Nothing was, so we want to spend $175,000 for temporary support until we do the replace. I mean, all the issues I see are in the floor. Well, yeah, it's in the pilings, and that's what we're doing. We're shoring up the pilings by putting the additional pilings on the outside and running the beams across underneath to hold the ramp up. Because we're concerned about, this engineer that we're using, I'm not trying to, I'm just playing devil's advocate. As he studied the original tender drawings, see how much rebar, what grade, I mean, what the PSI of concrete is, or is he just looking at the pilot and saying, assuming the concrete will fill it down? Based on what we know right now, there was no rebar in the original construction, and there's no rebar. There weren't concrete pilings in it, it's all wood. Okay. Last question. I know that right now, more likely everything's about the issue for the community or public lawn track. Can we not just put up a sign that says enter at your own risk, send out an email? I'm not gonna put it with that. I'm scared it's gonna fall. But when you stop with a sign that says enter at your own risk, I'm not gonna have to $40 million. Yeah. We asked that question of the attorney and the insurance company, and the answer was no. That would not protect the community by having a sign that says that. Unfortunately.
One thing about the insurance, the carrier said that if anything happened, and it did fail, that the insurance company would cancel us. Because it was identified the problem, we were told not to do it, and we did it anyway. To get one of these, I'll go find somebody else.
Okay, any other questions on the interim repair?
No, I'm not sure what's the path forward.
That forward is, we're under contract with Palmetto Marine. We're waiting on him to get the back order material, and then we'll get it repaired and back open. The current schedule is he should have the timbers by the end of July. That's the earliest he can get. Everything's backed up. And then, keep in mind, approximately 3 weeks later, you have that complete.
That's best case scenario.
All right, next slide.
All right.
So the other thing.
Just give me just 1 second there.
Well, the other thing the boat dock is working on is expansion of the boat and RV storage hall. In as a boating community, that storage area pretty much always full. At one point this winter, we had back, order of that order, waiting list of 8 votes. Right now, I think we've got 1. You know, there's the lot up front here, and then there's a lot in the back that's much smaller. The only thing to get in there is utility trailers or scooters. So they didn't have to pull everything we put out of the lot, push it into the back lot that fits that. Currently, we've got 57 spots up front here and 10 spots in the back. So here we're sitting with approximately 120 houses at full. You know, move forward, the rate we're going here at 20 houses a year or more. You know, we're going to need more storage area pretty well. That's right. I really guess that's what this gone on. So, you know, looking at what space is available, what seems to be the optimum approach would be to expand the boat storage out to the east into the parking. We've already got asphalt, you know, parking area there to park the boats on. Basically, we're just looking at moving the gate out and putting some additional fencing. Next slide. So, what you can see here then, so this area is within the stormwater plan for the clubhouse and the parking lot. So we have to work within the confines of the stormwater permit. But in general, so we came up with 2 options. Here's the current storage area back here. Here's the pond along the edge. This area right here is what's currently asphalted with the tree down the middle. The first option would be to put up a fence along the edge of the asphalt, across here, and along the edge of the pond. The stormwater plan does not allow us to take out any trees in the middle. Have to keep those in. Written into the plan. Doesn't make any sense to me, but it's written in the plan. Have to stay. So we get about 24 more storage spots there. The current berm runs along the edge here, and then it cuts back along here. This is, you know, where the old volleyball area used to be. Here's the tennis courts down here. So there's an additional approximately 100 feet that Oyster Harbour owns that we could expand here as a second option. So we expand both of these areas. If you'll notice again, there's a burned tree area here. Asking our engineer currently if we have to include that in the plan or not. You know, having those trees down the middle causes problems with moving boats in and out. We just have to get creative about how we're going to do it. So for option 1, we've got a gate here, which will be this gate. We'll just move it down, and we put in a second gate over here. You bring your boats in here, back them in at an angle, come around the corner, pull ahead and back in at an angle in here, and then pull out. So that's the approach we're looking at. We do just option 1. We've got this space here also, so we've got full space. We do a different configuration. And looking at maybe 20 to 24 spots there too. Next slide. So I mentioned, you know, we've got to work within that stormwater plan. And until we, you know, we're just at the beginning of this, so I don't have any costs available. We'll have to have an engineer come out or a surveyor come out, pin down those corners in the back area that's all wood right now. And then having engineer develop a plan that works with the stormwater plan. Put together some bid specs and then go out with bid. That's where we stand on that. It was also suggested that as part of this, we look at putting in a rack for stored kayaks. That's a great idea. We think we've got some room in the back storage area where we can put in a rack to hold 6 to 8 kayaks. Now, if people can get them out of the garage or behind their house, where they've got currently. So, any questions on that?
Is that the last slide? Was that the last slide?
All right, Ken.
Yeah, I'm not sure of the exact location, but if memory serves me correctly, there's septic field somewhere back there.
Yes.
Yeah,
That's what I'm concerned about.
the septic fields are further to the east. This would not encroach on any of that. As you can see on the plan, there was dotted lines for parking spaces and stuff. This would just encroach on future parking here. And, stormwater plan and the usage of, the clubhouse. Currently, there's enough parking spaces that by eliminating some of those spots, it's not going to cause a problem.
All right. I've got two questions. Do we own any additional land back there where the secondary is, to expand that in?
No,
Okay, so that's what it is. And is there a reason why we have this much parking to begin with? Is that required by the number of people that live in the community? Is that going to be an issue?
well, that's whether it's the expansion area for parking.
Okay, well,
And so that's covered in the stormwater plan and. Covered.
I just don't want us to have to, we do this and then the state comes in and says, well, you got so many more people living here now, you need more parking.
That won't. The only thing that we're limited to is handicap. The culture is not a fixed number, somebody occupying the building. We don't have a fixed number of parking. But what it does do is that the parking that's available now has already been permitted, it's already been approved with the original stormwater permit. So it's just a permit modifier is all we have to do, and that's huge for the community. That's all we have to do to change that modification.
So does the stormwater management plan permit extending the parking area to the south?
Yes.
Last question, when you extend the fence out, when you're talking about 50-foot trees and everything, have a tree down there now, with some kind of cut, like, utilize the road washing area, you know, circle, leading us all the way down, you can't take the trees out, we're going like a circle, or we have to, reverse. And I'm super glad you said that, because it answers your question as well. To ask why was it so big to start with, was because of the very thing you just asked. It was really more established for people who not having parking area at the boat ramp to be able to bring their boat over and park their boat and vehicle in their trailer. And the plan is yes, the wash down is totally within the community. We discussed that. And I'm not 100% sure if it's going to be a swing group or whether you have a backup group. Because right now the trees are huge. And to add to his question, I don't know, I only know industrial. With it being in the stormwater, a lot of times they don't allow us to store anything with, gasoline or anything within the stormwater base. So that's not an issue there. Not to my knowledge. Even with the fact that those two ponds over here are stormwater ponds, go run it the other way, go run it to you.
if there were, we did actually did talk about that, Bruce, that was that. You know, he said, remember, it's already established. That's what they're calling the old. So it's already established. Anything else?
Any kind of contract, 6 months.
No. I think. Especially, yeah. We thought we were real good to the stormwater. Yeah. That's small. Yeah.
Is there funding to pay for all this?
There is funding in the reserve for the full storage. And right now we're under that. I want to thank everybody coming out tonight. Hopefully we answered a lot of questions that you have. We appreciate Bruce, Dick and Barbara for all the work that they're doing.